Hello there, and welcome to this special interview here. As we all know, Monday last, the 17th of April, was nomination day, where all parties would have taken their list to the GCOM offices, the various offices, to make sure they have their constituency reps presented to GCOM and ready for E-Day. We are here with the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Nigel Dharamlall. Minister, thank you very much for taking the time out to be here on this program.
Thank you, and I'm happy to be on this program as well to share as much as possible with both you and our viewers.
Beautiful. Sir, Monday the 17th of April, the country would have seen the nomination day where all parties vying for the control of their constituencies, submitting their list of candidates to the local GCOM authorities there within their area. General Secretary Dr. Bharat Jagdeo, during his press conference today, he would have stated some damning revelation that are, astonishing, but not altogether surprising, where the opposition leader would have made some statements also. So let us unpack what would have happened today. Firstly, sir, opposition leader Aubrey Norton would have openly lied to the country during his press conference today, stating that he is contesting, the APNU is contesting in all the areas, right, and all the various constituency. But it is clear that they are only contesting in 279 of the 610 constituencies, which is a 43% different, right? This is just 43% of the population, so there is still a 55% that is not being contested in. They are not contested. Why should we be surprised by this misrepresentation of the opposition leader?
Yeah, well, as I don't know if you're a reggae, you listen to reggae music, but I actually do, and there's this very popular reggae singer called Popcorn, and he said numbers don't lie. And for those of us who know Mr. Jagdeo, Dr. Bharat Jagdeo very well, he's a very studious person, and whenever he says something, it is based on fact. He would have done his research, and to get to the point of basically declaring the way Mr. Norton, who is the opposition leader, the way he presented himself, I think it's clear to all Guyana that Mr. Norton historically comes from a system and comes from a party that has never been honest, a party that was involved in rigging elections, a party that has a history of denying people their rights, their freedoms. And so it wasn't a major revelation, as a matter of fact, because we all knew that the PNC and APNUAFC, they are basically faltering, and it would have been very difficult for them to garner support. As a matter of fact, Dr. Jagdeo has also said at different times that Norton is possibly the worst leader the PNC has ever seen, and now the APNUAFC. So naturally, it would be difficult, and it would have been difficult, and it will be difficult moving forward for the PNC and the APNUAFC to garner any kind of public support with someone as discredited as Aubrey Norton as its leader. So naturally you will find that they would be unable to get anyone proper to represent them in the 610 constituencies that are currently being contested for local government elections. And so it was an arduous task for them to find candidates to contest in these constituencies. And all of it has to do with the type of leadership that the PNC has, the type of message that they have, the type of narrative that they promote. No one anymore is believing of their narrative, of their message, and no one is supportive of the type of leadership that they currently have. So 43% of the candidates represents a significant blow to the PNC, a significant blow to the credibility of Norton, who said they will be contesting in virtually all of the constituencies in the country. We are very proud in the People's Progressive Party Civic because we have been able to find candidates in all of the constituencies across this country in areas that have been traditional strongholds of the PNC. And Dr. Jagdeo, as well as President Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali, they have been consistent in saying that we will work in all communities and we will work for all Guyanese, irrespective of your geographic or demographic characteristics. So it was not a difficult job for us to get candidates. As a matter of fact, if we were to have a second set of candidates, we'd be able to fill all 610 constituencies and possibly more. There are thousands of people who are still behind us wanting to get onto the list. So I think it is a significant blow to the PNC. But it's obvious that, like I said, with the type of leadership that they currently have, not just Norton alone, but across the country, the regional leadership and the local leadership of the PNC, they have been abysmal in their performance. They have been totally destructive of the One Guyana platform that we are currently building. They are too narrow-minded, and so our country is moving in a direction that is opposite to what the PNC is seeking to promote. They are very one-dimensional. They're very, they focus on race alone in a country that is multi-ethnic, multiracial, multicultural. So their message will not resonate with many people. And it will be very difficult for them to find candidates in many of the communities that they thought that they could have contested in. One of the other reasons too has to do with their track record. They have decimated many local communities. They have decimated lives and livelihoods when they were in power between 2015 to 2020. So people have knowledge of who they are, people have evidence of who they are, and people make decisions, fact-based decisions. So we are happy that we've been able to come to this point where we are contesting in all of the constituencies, and like I said, in traditional strongholds of the PNC. And so I don't see it as something that is stark, that Apnu AFC couldn't find candidates. Norton is probably shocked because his network on the ground, they are telling him very disbelieving things. And he possibly believes that things are happening for him on the ground, but these are the facts. And as Dr. Jagdeo has done, he has laid it out very straight. And all of Guyana is now aware of what has taken place.
As we examine the 45% of the representation that they have, we are talking here about a 55% areas in which they were unable to impact or to have representation here. What do you think this means for them?
Well, there's something I want to clarify. Mm-hmm. It is not representation that they have. Mm-hmm. They are contesting. Mm-hmm. And of the 610 constituencies, they have only been able to find candidates to contest in 45% of those, just over 270. And so it is not that they're representing anyone at this point in time. The fact that they, having served in government just 2 years and 9 months ago, and they're unable to find candidates even in some of their constituencies, stronghold areas, it is a telling blow to the PNC and to the APNUAFC that Guyana has moved forward. Guyana has gone beyond their concept of management, and we would like to see a country that is transformed under the One Guyana agenda. We would like to see a country that where the community infrastructure is upgraded, where better local services are provided. And President Ali and his government, we have been moving in that direction. And so it is very easy for us to have been able to get into communities. As a matter of fact, our party leader, Dr. Jagdeo, presented candidates as well who were previous supporters of the APNUFC. And I know between him and President Ali, they have been working very hard at both the high level of government as well as the local level to bring as many persons as possible, irrespective of who you are, to bring them on board and to be part of this One Guyana agenda that we are promoting.
The PPP General Secretary would have given evidence of a scenario in Linden where a list was submitted with the name and signature of one of the persons as in support of APNU AFC, for which the person have challenged because they never gave their consent. What do you think, as the local government minister, what's the next step here in this situation?
Well, that is fraud. And fraud is a criminal offense. And I hope that whoever has been, that fraud has been committed on would take necessary action against the APNUFC. But it is not surprising again, because the APNUAFC has never really run a legitimate government, because in previous years, in different forms, when they were PNC previously, there is documentary evidence, historical evidence, that they rigged elections. Only recently, in 2020, President Ali ought to have been in government since March 2nd, March 3rd of 2020. It took us 5 months before President Ali was sworn in as president. And across those 5 months, the APNUAFC denied our votes. And they went at length to create all kinds of mischief, including presenting fraudulent elections results. Not once, but more than once. And so the very basis of the PNC, the very basis of the APNUAFC is built on fraud. And so one would have to question their legitimacy as well as a political entity. So I believe that in Region 10 and elsewhere, where they have committed these offenses, that the voters themselves will take online action against them, as they have done consistently across elections. So I would like to encourage people, encourage Guyanese, irrespective of where you are. We have 70 NDC areas. We have 10 municipal areas. Please come out and support a just cause, which is a government and a party that promotes local development, a party that is genuine in ensuring that development is equitable, that development is across all spheres of our country, quite unlike the APNUAFC, which is very selective, which is very discriminatory, and also they victimize a lot of Guyanese people who have in many areas, if they speak out too loudly, they get discriminated against or victimized by the PNC. So I believe that the most condign action would be to come out and vote for the People's Progressive Party.
Beautiful. Minister, persons in Region 5 has complained to the PPPC that there are some APNU operatives that are intimidating them, specifically Vince Roy Jordan, Carol Smith Joseph, and Darren Wade. What do you think this could be, or what do you think could be behind this kind of bullying or bully tactics?
Well, those three names that you just called, I'm also from Region 5, and those three names, they're historically, they're notorious type of individuals who are engaged in very untoward, undemocratic behavior. When people are losing, they will clutch at any opportunity to to get power. And so what they have sought to do is to, as you said, to bully our activists, bully our candidates, bully our supporters, bully the backers of the different lists that we have. That is how they thought, and that is how they thought that they could have gotten into power at the local level. Uh, Elections at the local level, local government elections, are very, very important, because these are people who you choose amongst yourselves within villages, who you believe can represent you best. And so unfortunately for APNUFC, and in the case of Jordan, Wade, and Carl Smith-Joseph, they are actually doing much worse to the PNC's cause than but of course they believe that they are popularizing themselves, but to what end? And to the end, unfortunately, is the decimation of the PNC. So I think Guyanese have gone beyond that. No one is fearful of the APNUFC. No one is fearful of the ilks of Carl Smith-Joseph and Darren Wade and Jordan. They have, well, Wade, Jordan in this case has gone to the parliament and has said some of the most outrageous, disbelieving things about Region 5. Smith-Joseph has only recently had to apologize for using expletives against one of our reporters, one of our journalists, the Chronicle journalist. And Wade, I think he's trying to build a legal career out of driving fear into people. So I think they're very selfish, and you can't govern a country, and no one will accept you into leadership when you portray those kinds of behavior.
Mr. Dharamlall, the opposition has demonized the PPPC government, talking of the lack of ethnic, the fact that there is ethnic discrimination and all of that on the side of the PPPC. But when you look at the list that they would have submitted, there is a clear citing of the fact that in terms of the age, there is no diversity in age and ethnicity. What do you think this says about them?
So the PPP could not have survived for 70 odd years. This year we have celebrated 73 years since the People's Progressive Party was established. The forerunner to the PPP, the Political Affairs Committee, was set up or established by 4 individuals. Dr. Chetty Jagan, his wife, Comrade Janet Jagan, both former presidents, Jocelyn Hubbard, and Ashton Chase. That's a white cross-section of Guyanese. That is not in any way discriminating against anyone. When the PPP was formally established as a party on January 1, 1950, it had also a wide cross-section of people, multiracial, multicultural, different economic levels. Dr. Jagan fought for universal adult suffrage, one man, one vote. Previous to the 1953, there was not one man, one vote. So the PPP has been historically a multiracial, multi-ethnic, multicultural party. We have been also very multidimensional. We accept everyone, irrespective of who you are, irrespective of the color of your skin or the texture of your hair. You're accepted into the PPP. This PPP that we currently have, the contemporary PPP, is no different in terms of its outlook as 1950, as 1947, 1946. So all across these years, we have been a party that has captured Guyanese into our membership from all walks of life, from all communities across the country. Unlike the PNC, which has always been a monochrome. The PNC has always focused on race as its base. But for us, the Guyanese are our base. And that is why we've been able to present candidates. And our party leader, Dr. Barjagdeo, has been adamant, and publicly so, that we will work with all Guyanese, and as leader of the party, he has been fostering this movement to make sure that as many Guyanese as possible come into the PPP. Guyanese from all walks of life, different ethnicities, and the list that he presented, the faces that he presented, is a clear indication that this is the party that he's building, a party that is a true representation of Guyana, quite unlike what the PNC is. They are moribundas, to use a term of the vice president as well. They lack vision, they lack diversity, and also I think that they have become very obsolete.
Beautiful. Minister, lastly, I want to touch on the fact that, as the GS put it, the whisper campaign, where members of the opposition are going and telling, well, let me don't just say members of the opposition because we have two opposition, right? But APNU are going and saying to vendors that if they vote for the PPP is going to remove them or stop them from vending. Why do you think they resorting to these kind of tactics, and how does this do you think this make you feel? Why do they have to go so low to resort to those kind of tactics?
Well, because their party, the PNC, the APN, UFC, they're one of the same. They're a party that was never built on trust. They never promoted anything that was honest. The period when they served government from 2015 to 2020, they made glorious promises, not a single one properly fulfilled. So I don't think that people will believe them. As a matter of fact, people will remember that it was the PNC that brutalized those vendors by Stabroek and take them into a muddied yard for them to vend. It was, at that time, opposition leader, Dr. Bar Jagdeo, who basically went into that area and represented the interests of those people. Across the country, we have not done anything untoward vendors. We recognize that they have a lot of challenges. It was the PNC that put hardship measures onto vendors. It was the PNC that killed a lot of the business of vendors with the enormous taxes, and so spending power in our country was heavily reduced, and so a lot of vendors suffered. Since we have come into government again, President Ali has been from day one working assiduously to ensure that vendors have better conditions to ply their trade. So we have started the rebuilding and reconstruction of many markets so that vendors can actually have a proper business to conduct their livelihood. No one wants to put a cart on a road and sell. What they would like to have is their own business. And this is what President Ali has been doing. We are reconstructing Parika Market. Hundreds of vendors will get a proper place of business. We are doing some new development at Leonora, where vendors can now get a tarmac with sanitary facilities and egress ingress as well, parking for customers. So the atmosphere will be different. At Monrepo, we're also building a new market that will have nearly 500 vendors. We have done rehabilitation work in Berbice, at Port Morant, at Corriverton. We have worked with the councils in Rose Hall as well as New Amsterdam to upgrade the services of their markets. We have done a new market in Charity that is in a different phase now, and that we will invest further in. So different areas we're working. Only 3 weeks ago, I had cause to visit Stabroek Market, and for the first time in many years, it was washed, and we have to do more work on it. Border Market, last weekend we had a team that went in to clean up the market. We actually did work also since President Ali became head of state. Done work at the East Rheinveld Market as well as Allboys Town Market. So the economy is in transition. Vendors can count on this government that we have been able to enhance their livelihood. More money is circulating in different regional economies, so more people are shopping. So naturally, vendors will make more money, and they will want better conditions to ply their trade, and that is what we're doing. So by just making these false accusations and basically telling the vendors lies, we have not done any of those things, and we don't intend to do anything that will affect anyone's livelihood. What we're doing is to enhance their livelihood. And local government elections are mostly about community development. And markets and vending is a community activity. And everyone, as a matter of fact, many people probably don't know this, but I used to walk and sell tomatoes in Region 5. I sold icicles at primary school. But because, we have to make a living. And so I would have been happy if my mother had a shop or a stall rather than walking on the road. So, and I'm sure that there are many kids out there who would be happy if their parents, who are vendors, can get a proper stall so they could ply their trade. And that is how President Ali is building this country. We have a great vision for Guyana, and what we have achieved in 2.5 years has been tremendous. We have basically, the Vice President, General Secretary has said so on many occasions, the President himself, that we have already materialized our manifesto of 2020. And so we are working on greater things, and Guyana is transforming, and we have a president who is on the ground, extremely humble, respectful, and he's working for every single person, and everyone can count on him. You walk this country, President Ali has been there already, and he knows people personally. He deals with people's issues himself sometimes. He takes his government out into the communities. He takes his office also out into the communities. You can't have a better government than that.
Mr. Dharamlall, thank you very much for your comments that you would have shared. And I want to say thank you to those of you who are listening via television, even via the radio. We just had that special interview to clear up some misinformation peddled by the opposition leader, and you have heard it out of the mouth of the Minister of Local Government and Regional Development, the Honorable Nigel Dharamlall. I've been your host, Lennox Gasper. Thank you for watching.